And I'm very glad to be doing the welcome introduction to the youth department. So, here is one thing that I would like to really make known to everybody. In previous years, our youth department was designed to be kid focused. So there really was no if you go in certain place, you may hear the youth department formally being referred to as family and children yes, family and children ministry. So that's probably how it is. So as you know, the family and children ministry is specifically designed for fostering better relationships between everybody in the family, but that is by teaching the kids their part in what has to be done. As you know, in every household, everybody has a role. There's a role for everybody in the household, starting with the parents and ending with the children or pets and visitors in the household. The buck starts with the parents. As you know, we are not in the 1950s anymore. So nowadays, there is no longer a reference of choosing who is going to be the upper parent or who is going to be the ultimate one or who wears the pants in the household. That does not happen anymore. Although husbands and wives still do have certain roles, the roles can be shared. Gender roles is not a thing anymore. So if you look at this, we can all agree that if you see a mother and a father, the first way to foster that relationship is for the mother and the father to be on one accord. For the greatest love a father can give his children is to love the kid's mother. I do believe that in September there is going to be a step parents day, and this is going to be discussed how fathers are supposed to be loving to the children's mother. The greatest gift a father can give to their kids is to love their mother, even if biologically those kids are not of the fathers. Now, when we look at life in general, many of us like to think that just because my problem is visibly more dangerous than yours, that it's automatically more difficult than yours. Many of us think that just because our problems cost more money or can cause this or cause damage greater than what yours is costing you means that the problems you should be able to deal with your problem better or it should be easier for you. There's this thing I always have to call whole versus height comparison. So this is your whole. I'm going to do a pre-example on the board of how you're going to have a hole and a person in it. Because that's what a problem technically is when a person digs themselves into a hole. So when somebody digs themselves into a hole, or when somebody falls into a hole, how deep the hole is in relation to how tall the person is depends on how easily it's going to be to get out of the hole. Mind you, there is never a hole that somebody cannot get out of. A hole so deep that you can't get out is not in existence. Maybe, just maybe, there's a hole so deep you can't climb on your own, that you'll have to get assistance. But there will never be a hole that is so deep that, hey, I'm staying in here forever. I'm never getting out. So here's the thing. To person A, let's just draw this in yellow because that's the official color of the youth department. A kid's hole could be this deep, but guess what? What if the kid is only, let's just say if a kid digs himself into a 4-foot hole, but then the kid is hypothetically only 3 feet tall. That means there's 2 feet worth of headway that the kid cannot reach. So deep is not a deep hole at all, but guess what? The kid not very tall. Now, here is the thing. We all have to recognize that you're never really going to have a hole-free day. When I say the hole, I mean the problem. When I say the kid being 3 feet tall, I mean the level of experience, the level of maturity, the level of understanding there is. When I say the hole being 4 foot tall, I'm saying the level of maturity, experience, and understanding that is required to dig yourself out the hole. So we're going to think about this. If someone that has a very small level of intelligence, maturity, and experience and understanding falls into a hole that requires a high level of intelligence, maturity, experience, and understanding, it's not going to be easy for them to get out. Now let's look at adults now. Us adults, we have a greater level of intelligence, a greater level of experience, a greater level of maturity. So we could take a look at the adult as being, let's say, 6 feet. But now look, an adult could end up falling into a hole, let's just say on your normal average day, you could end up falling into a hole that is 5 foot tall. Now, here's a little thing between kids and grown-ups. Kids are agile, plus kids are like, let's just say wasps or other bugs that give off pheromones when they're in trouble. If a wasp gets in trouble and they send off a pheromone, every wasp is going to come to the endangered wasp's cries. If someone hears a kid crying or upset or just simply sees a kid by himself, every adult within visual or audible hearing distance of the child is running to help. Somebody could be trying to rob a kid. Somebody that is always, the robber could be dangerous. Adults would try to help, even if the person, even in comparison, the person getting robbed could be an adult, they're not going to personally run in to help. So it's been proven that motherly and fatherly instincts that adults have will allow all of them to run when a kid is in danger. So that headway, 1 foot headway that kids cannot climb out of, instantly there's going to be somebody to pull them out of it. Does that mean it makes the suffering or the pain or whatever any less for the kid? No. But does being in the hole only for 5 or 10 minutes make it better? It could. Now, the reason why I'm saying it doesn't say it does, because guess what? When you're young, things that happen, everything surprises you. Everything shocks you when you're young. Everything changes your life when you're young. So stepping over a kid, that's like stepping into wet concrete that's drying. Stepping over an adult is like stepping into concrete that's dried. One thing we have to realize is It's very important to make sure that we are not treating our kids like 4 foot tall grown-ups. We need to make sure. Now we need to make sure we're not leaving them to their own destruction too, because guess what? Guess what? When it comes to dealing with everyday people, everybody, especially grown-ups, believe half of what you hear. Believe none of what you hear and half of what you see. When it comes to kids, it's probably best to not even believe what you're seeing. You know why? Because here's the thing. It's very easy for a grown-up to just tell a lie. Whether they're good at lying, whether they're bad at lying, they'll probably stop at telling. Kids will take the extra step to put up a fake imagery just to prove the lie. I've seen it many times. I've had students in the youth department that would go and Photoshop something that would take time of their day to Photoshop their name onto a document just to make it look true. Photoshop answers onto a worksheet. How do I know it's Photoshop? I wasn't born yesterday. I was born in 2003. I know how to look at a document and tell that the wording came from somewhere else. Okay? So the lengths children will go to, especially teenagers, to lie is ridiculous. So that's why the Bible has this little scripture called spare the rod, spoil the child. But then at the same time, if you look at Ephesians 6, let me open up because I don't just say scriptures, I like to read them. Because what I'm looking for is Ephesians now. Ephesians could help me in this situation a little bit too. Ephesians chapter 6. Let's start with 1. Children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. Let's look at 2. Honor thy father and thy mother, which is the first commandment with progress. 3. That it may be well with thee, and thou mayest live long on the earth. Let's look at 4. And ye fathers, provoke not your children to wrath, but bring them up in the nurture and admonition of the Lord. A lot of people forget that one. You have to obey your parents as a child. You don't ever stop honoring them. However, it is not okay for fathers to provoke them to anger. Now, when we say provoke to anger, I don't mean disciplining. I don't mean taking things away. I don't mean spankings. I don't mean sanctions. I don't mean loss of video game time. I don't even mean taking things back or breaking it, whatever. I don't even mean that. Is it a little harsh? It depends. If a child closes a door too hard and you go break their video game console, yeah. If a child is getting bad grades in school, it matches, but guess what? It only works if you never ever repurchase the item for them again. But look at this. Look at this. This is what I mean by provoke. When you provoke a child to anger, you're basically not disciplining the child. You're doing things just for the simplified purpose of getting the child angry. So over punishing your child, punishing them for something they didn't do. Just because your child didn't reply good morning to you, this is a lot. I mean, yes, your child does have a duty to obey you, but your child is not your slave. He could be your student. He could be your child as your student, but he is not your slave. So you can't get upset when, your child gets angry with you every now and then. But for you to go cause that on your own, like for example, the biggest thing that upsets a kid is when you lie to them or when you be a hypocrite. When you be a hypocrite, don't do that. Do not tell your kids you're going to do something knowing 100% that you're not, and then just simply don't do it, don't ever mention it again. Because see, here's the thing. That kid is now going to learn from your example that, hey, it's okay to lie to people. Hey, if someone doesn't say good morning to me, I should just hit them. Hey, if somebody tries to take extra food, I'm going to punish them. Hey, I'm not ever going to tell anybody what they've done wrong. If someone does something wrong, I'm just going to hurt them. Hey, I'm going to pour juice and milks and sticky stuff into places where it's not supposed to be poured and laugh about it. I mean, you saw the Daddy 05 controversy. That was probably the most divided child abuse case that has happened in recent history. I mean, going into your child's room, pouring ink on the carpet, and then blaming your kid for it, that provokes the child to anger. I am not taking any sides in the court case. I'm not taking any sides about child abuse or this and that. I'm reading what I saw. What I saw was commit the crime, blame your child for the crime. In the Martin household, it's a crime to mess up the carpets, apparently. So now you go mess up your carpets and then blame your kids for that, knowing you did it. That's provoking the kid to anger. We don't do that. We never should do that. Back to my whole example. You take a kid that is very low in intelligence and try to put them in this big situation where they have to make a life-changing decision. They can't do that. That is like taking a toddler, putting them in the front seat of a car and asking them to steer it when, one, they can't reach the pedals, two, they can't see out of the dashboard, or three, they can only do one or the other. You can't do that. They don't have the judgment to make an informed decision. Why do you think that hospitals cannot technically see kids unless there's a parent there? Why do you think schools can't hide things from parents? Why do you think they don't let people get married under the age of 18 unless with a parent's approval? And even so, any further than certain ages, here in Georgia, it could be 16, whatever. No marriage certificate is getting signed without parents' approval. Most places it's probably 18. It doesn't matter. There's a minimum age to where parents can even sign the marriage certificate. Most places have a minimum age where if you're below that age, not even your parents can give you authorization to get married. Most places will just let you automatically get married at 18. BIOS won't even perform a marriage until you're 20. I mean, we won't even sign you up, nothing. We'll put you in counseling, whatever. We won't even issue a marriage certificate until you're 20. We won't even start planning your wedding. Nothing at all. Because the Bible, of course, the Bible does preach how irreversible marriage is. So you can't technically divorce someone just because you don't like them. You could divorce them if they cheat on you. You could divorce them if they, for any reason, become perverted or do stuff to someone else or they try to physically kill you. You cannot, for any reason, just divorce somebody just because you don't like them. So we want to make sure that that's not going to happen. So now if you take a look at this, you will see how come it's easier for people who are grown to say that kids technically don't have any problems. Really, kids do have problems that are problems for kids, but not problems for adults. Because look, this little bit of problem that kids have to go through probably makes up this little bit that the adult have to go through. They've matured. So problems that reach the kid here catches the adult, they can just step out of it. It's like, that's a hole, you're just gonna step out of it. That's not a hole, that's just a sink. I just step right out of it. That's what happens when you've developed. When you've developed and became a full human, you can do that. So I have one big thing to say to everybody. If you're grown, stop looking at the kids as if they are. And if you are not grown, stop looking at the grown-ups as if they're still a kid. Ask them for help, yeah, but don't go get mad at them when they're saying that you could just do this. There's this easy, quick fix solution here. They've been there before. They know what works. And then they're there to help you. First of all, if I was to, let's say, have somebody, giving me mess right now. They're being rude, they're being belligerent, this and that. And then I had kids and one was sitting, let's just say I had kids, my own blood kids. If someone comes in here and tries to hurt daddy, what exactly are my own kids going to do about it other than what I've taught them to do? I've taught them to go and call for help. Notice I didn't teach them to get involved with something. If somebody comes in here trying to hurt my kids, I'm going after them. Somebody come in here and try to hurt me, my kids dare not go after the man, because guess what? Man's 6 foot tall and have muscles everywhere. Kids, they don't have any of that advantage. Best thing to do is call for help, okay? Sitting in the back shouting, leave my daddy alone. I don't even recommend that anymore because everybody got this piece of crap in their waist now. Yes, I did just call guns piece of crap. I know it's unpatriotic, but sorry. I can't see patriotism as going around hurting and killing people. That's not what the founding fathers wrote. Therefore, I can't agree with it. So this is basically one thing that we have to learn this year. One thing we have to learn this year is to just simply be human to each other. Stop asserting a level or a hierarchy and just treat everybody as a human being. Okay? Just treat everyone as if they're human. May not have to treat them all equal, like say we're not going to treat we're not going to give someone the same math test that's in college and as in elementary school. But guess what? At the end of the day, treat everybody equal. You don't know who's going to grow up to save who. We can't treat people like they're below us. And one thing I do have to say to the parents, we need to learn how to discipline. We need to learn how to keep a check on the kids. We need to learn how to show tough love. You know why? No way I should not be able to get on the train because somebody's kids decide that instead of staying home studying for school, they're gonna come and block the train door, stopping me in my full uniform. I was doing homeless ministry that day, and a group of construction workers from getting on the train. And these were not teenagers. These were, when I say kids, I mean kids. Those kids do not have proper home training. Therefore, the only recommendation I have is either you listen to your parents or you listen to that metal letter L that everybody's walking around with. We used to always say, oh, you're going to get arrested, you're going to get arrested. People don't really, when people are violent and they're bad, they don't get arrested anymore. They get shot with something. So either they get a chemical shot, or they get a bullet shot, or they get a beanbag shot, or they get a taser shot. They're getting shot with something. And for some reason, the guns always look like a letter L. That's why I just call them that. Because I don't want to go around saying that word in church all the time, because that's probably violent. Hey, there was a time where you wouldn't even dare talk about bows and arrows while you're in church, because guess what? Shooting people's been around since biblical days. I mean, the Roman soldiers went to war and shot bows and arrows. Jesus was pierced in the side by a spear. So things like this has been going around. For those of you who live across the pond in the UK, I'm pretty sure knives are more of a problem for you than guns. If you live here in the US, I'm pretty sure guns are more of a problem for you than knives. If you live anywhere else, I'm pretty sure machine guns are probably more of a problem for you than regular guns. But guess what? One thing I have to say to you is treat each other like human beings. The reason why I left this up today in this test classroom, we want to continue with this. We want to continue treating our enemies too like people. So tomorrow we're going to hold our first Bible study. In order to do this, we need to have your cooperation. I want you to put a proper review in the classes in the comments. Thank you and have a blessed day.